Hello and welcome everyone to my presentation today. I'm very happy to present you the work of my co-authors and myself with the title Better Together, the interplay between a phishing awareness video and a link-centric phishing support tool. So let's start right into. We all heard from the problem called phishing, but what is phishing? There are people out there that send us messages, for example emails, and their goal is to get us to click on links and enter credentials or then install ransomware on our machine. Some of these emails are easy to detect, even though we are not experts in phishing detection, because they lack things such as grammar or even the language is completely off. But there are other emails that are way more difficult to detect, and sometimes we just don't know how to decide whether it's a phish or genuine. When I'm confronted with such a difficult email, I can ask myself the question, and what do I do now? In recent times, there have been two main areas of research on how to help users with this decision. The first area is phishing awareness measures, such as videos or e-learning programs that explain what I should look for to detect a phishing message. The second area is tool support, where I install some kind of program that helps me detect phishing messages. In the past, various forms of tool support have been developed and studied, for example, banners or warning pages. But in the end, tooltips currently are the most promising form as they provide the information just in place and just in time for the users to decide. For the study, we decided for the NoPhish video and the TORPEDO add-on, which I will go into detail later, because watching the video and installing the add-on roughly takes both 5 minutes, and they are both already evaluated for their effectiveness in the past. So I know what I could do, but which one should I choose from these two options? This leads me to my research questions that we try to answer with our paper. I have some more research questions in the paper, but for this presentation I will now focus on the two main research questions, as the first two are more prerequisites for the later ones to even be meaningful to investigate. My first research question is based on the decision that I just presented. Which option, the NoPhish video or the TORPEDO tool support, is more effective in helping users distinguish between phish and legitimate emails? Both interventions have been tested in the past, and like other interventions, they have been compared to other interventions within the same kind, but they have not been tested directly against each other. Another important factor that has not been studied in the past: how does both interventions compare against the combination of them? So this leads to the research question: does the combination of the NoPhish video and the TORPEDO tool support offer greater benefit for users' ability to distinguish between phishing and legitimate emails compared to using each individually? But what is the NoPhish video? It's a video that is part of the NoPhish concept, which has various other measures, for example, multiple videos on different aspects of phishing. The video used in the study is the one video that focuses on creating some general awareness for the topic of phishing and how to check the URL. It therefore starts with some general explanations of the threat of phishing. Then the video explains the importance to check the URL behind a link, and a link can be placed behind different parts of the email, for example, a picture. Next, the structure of the URL is explained with the importance of the domain and top-level domain as the essential parts of the email. Then, two tricks are presented on how to check the URL and the domain. For example, one should check the domain for the name of the expected organization and look out for small typos in the domain. With these tricks, users should be able to know the essential aspects to investigate an email and their links. The NoPhish video represents the phishing awareness measure in our study. And now the question is, what is TORPEDO? TORPEDO is also a concept that tries to mitigate different phishing tricks by providing various functions. TORPEDO already exists in the Thunderbird email client as an add-on and for different web mailing providers such as Gmail as a web extension for Chrome and Firefox. TORPEDO has an extended tooltip that provides just-in-place and just-in-time information for users to better distinguish between phish and legitimate emails. It classifies emails based on a scheme and then provides a risk level, which leads to a change of the border of the tooltip and the information inside of the tooltip. For example, it has a green border for the most visited domains in Germany, or a gray border for such domains that are not in this list. In this example, you can see the unknown risk level, where the users are asked to decide themselves. To make the decision easier, there are other features to help the users. It also highlights the domain as the most important part of the URL to draw users' attention to this area. Additionally, to help users to detect small errors, it adds spaces for the domain and the top-level domain. This is supposed to help users read the domain more carefully. To make sure that users just do not unintentionally or too fast click on a link without thinking about it, TORPEDO also blocks the link by default for 3 seconds. Additionally, installing TORPEDO leads to a tutorial being displayed that was developed and tested in previous studies. That explains the most important features of TORPEDO. TORPEDO presents the tool support in our current study. And I wanted to now give you a quick overview of how the study looked like. First of all, every participant received a set of 16 screenshots to decide whether it's a phish or a legitimate. The set was presented one after another without the possibility to go back and change the decision. Compared to other studies, in this study we used dynamic screenshots. That means that the participants had to interact with the screenshots to see the URL behind a link, like in an actual URL. That was also trained with an example previously to make sure that participants were aware of this possibility. Here you can see an example of how the study looked like for the participants, while for simplicity the status bar was moved closer to the link as it would not be visible on the slides. Like in the real world, in the study the status bar was way further down at the left corner. The distribution of the screenshots for phishing legitimate was equal. So for every phishing screenshot there was also a legitimate one. The information about the distribution was not given to the participants. Every participant received a short cover story that was necessary for the examples as they could not be personalized for the participants. So every participant was asked to imagine they are Max Müller and they use a list of services. So they would not just reject an email just because they themselves might not use this service. This leads me to my study design. In our study, we investigated in total 8 groups. First of all, we had 2 control groups that represent the current status quo in email clients and web browsers. One displayed the URL in a status bar in the bottom left corner of the email, and the second displayed the URL in a tooltip like in the Outlook email client. The second set of groups represent the phishing awareness measure in form of the NoPhish video. These are the first 2 intervention groups, where both groups receive the video and one group sees the status bar like control group 1, and the other group sees the tooltip like control group 2. The third set of group represent the tool support in form of the TORPEDO add-on. Here one group received a tutorial explaining the main functionality of TORPEDO and then seeing the TORPEDO tooltips while making their decision, and the other group did not receive the tutorial but saw the TORPEDO tooltips while deciding. The last set of groups both received first the NoPhish video, like the intervention group 1 and 2, and then one group saw the tutorial, like intervention group 3, and for the screenshot, both groups saw the TORPEDO tooltips. This leads to the following results for the sensitivity. Sensitivity is part of the signal detection theory and describes the ability to distinguish between the signal, in this case phishing, and noise, in this case the legitimate examples. The sensitivity for the study ranges from -3.38 to +3.38, which means that the sensitivity of 0 equals the guessing probability. I will now present the box plots for the sensitivity for the different groups. I will also add the numbers for both the percentage of correct identified phishing examples and legitimate examples. Looking at the current status quo, Those with the tooltip slightly performed better than those with the status bar. But as you can see, the phishing detection is pretty low, nearly the guessing probability. Adding the video to both groups leads to an improvement, and the distance between the status bar and the tooltip increases. Both groups performed significantly better than those without a video. Looking at the results for the TORPEDO tool support, the group with the tutorial significantly performed better than the both groups that saw the NoPhish video. But one can already see that the tutorial is an important part, as the group without the tutorial performs even between the video and the status quo groups. Combining the NoPhish video and TORPEDO leads to an even more significant better result compared to just TORPEDO, but this only holds for the group with the tutorial. Again, the group without the tutorial performed way worse, only a bit above the group with the video, but without TORPEDO. Now, I want to quickly summarize our study. We in total tested 409 participants across 8 groups for their sensitivity to distinguish between legitimate and phishing emails. We did so for 2 state-of-the-art interventions for phishing awareness measure and tool support, the NoPhish video and the TORPEDO add-on. Overall, TORPEDO performed better than the NoPhish video, while both performed better than the status quo. But the combination of both even outperformed the single intervention. The tutorial is an essential part of TORPEDO and is needed for TORPEDO to show its full potential. And as a small addition from my side, small deviations in the domain such as a typo or a swap of letters are the most difficult phishing tricks across all groups, and only the combination of both interventions showed promising results for this phishing trick. And with this, I will end my presentation and thank you for listening.